Hello, and welcome to the Amongst Romance podcast, your window to everything Italy from an outsider's perspective. Join us each week as we navigate the Italian way of life and all the adventures that come along with it. Since it's officially summer in Italy, I thought today we could dive into how to have an unforgettable summer in Italy, and we can share some of our tips for enjoying your time in Italy during summer and some of the best places you can go to experience that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. There's some good and bad things that we've encountered, more good than bad, but yeah, I think it'll be interesting.
So when you think about summer in Italy, what are some things that come to mind when you think about that?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the beach, right? Everybody in droves really go out to various beaches throughout Italy. The cities are kind of ghost towns, essentially. Well, at least with locals, right? You'll still have your tourists running around, but it's a lot quieter in the big cities, so you'll find it quite odd.
I remember the first time I came to Italy, it was maybe end of July or August, but I just remember it being so hot. I don't think I've ever experienced such heat before, and it was quite interesting experience. That was many years ago, and there was no air conditioning. And I just found it to be so stifling, and I couldn't understand how people live here without air conditioning. We went to, because it's the first time in Italy, we were trying to go everywhere. And I remember being in Paestum, and we've talked about Paestum before. It's an archaeological site for Greek temples, but there isn't a lot of shade. So one of my earliest memories of coming to Italy in the summer was going to Paestum and just wandering around in this stifling heat. And I think we were almost feeling delirious at that point because it was just so hot and the sun was burning. And no matter how much sunscreen we had, it was just like, wow, I thought I was going to be melting. It was kind of unpleasant, but I would say it was still memorable because it was such a unique experience.
Air conditioning is definitely optional most times for Italians because they kind of view it as a luxury, I guess. And the fact that they, going in and out from extreme heat to cold is supposedly quote unquote bad for your health. So you'll find a lot of Italians don't actually have air conditioning in their homes. And even the ones that do have it don't always have it on full blast like we're used to in North America, where have the huge differences in temperatures when you go inside and out. The difference here, I think, is the fact that it's a bit of a drier heat. So even when it does hit the 40 degree, it's not totally unbearable, but you definitely have to, be a bit careful.
I think this aversion to air conditioning is like a European thing. Although I think now that summers are getting a lot hotter, even Italians, more of them are getting air conditioning. You can see, even in our town, you can see that they have air conditioning, whereas before they didn't. So I think they do realize that it's quite hot. And plus you have a lot of older people who, I can barely breathe. I can't imagine someone who is like in their 80s, how they're doing. It's just so hot. So you're noticing it more, I think, in Italy now, the air conditioning. But as you said, I don't think they have it blasting full time, like all the time, which if you're expecting that, you might be in a bit of a surprise when you get here.
And one of the things I think is the reason why that you don't find a lot of air conditioning in a lot of homes is the electrical isn't up to par. Many of the times, these are older homes, right? So electrical wasn't really built. They didn't wire the homes to handle the loads that, people are used to in North America, because of the fact that not everybody had washer, dryer back in the day, or even up until, maybe 20 years ago. So you didn't see, everyone with air conditioning either. So you'll see that it's not very common. Definitely a little more common now because a lot of the homes have been restructured, renovated, so electrical gets upgraded, right? If you don't have the upgraded electrical system, you're going to be seeing a lot of power outages and having to reset your main electrical board.
Okay, so let's talk about beaches, because to me, that is a quintessential Italian summer experience. Last episode, we talked about Puglia, and I think Puglia is a great beach destination. So we talked about some of the places there that you can explore. And I don't think you're really going to go wrong if you go to Puglia for summer because it's surrounded by coastline. So there's all kinds of beaches. And we're talking about the more well-known ones, La Pogliana al Mare, Gallipoli, Otranto. But there's also so many little beaches that probably don't even have a name that you can just go with your umbrella and chair and enjoy for the day. So I think Puglia, again, is a fantastic destination for beaches.
I'd have to agree with that. And there's so many options when it comes to Puglia. It's a region that's very well known for beaches. So there are a lot of Italians, locals that make their way down to Puglia. You won't see a ton of tourists. It's definitely getting a lot more popular nowadays. But yeah, it's definitely an Italian destination.
I think another destination for beaches in Italy, which is sort of underrated, is the region of Calabria. We spent quite a few summers there, but most recently we went to a small town called Paola, which was really incredible. The best known Calabria beach is probably Tropea, which is very picturesque. It's got the sandy white beaches, it's got the blue sparkling water. And as far as beaches go, it's very nice. However, it's also very popular, which means you're going to have a lot more people there and prices will be higher if you go in a peak season, right? So other destinations in Calabria, Scilla is also a great place for a beach. It's got some mythological ties and historical significance to it. And of course, there's Capo Vaticano, which features stunning views and also beautiful beaches. That area is also great for snorkeling and diving. So if you're into like water sports, there's so much to discover in Calabria.
Yeah, we encountered probably some of the hottest weather when we visited Calabria in Crotone some time ago. And yeah, it's definitely beach weather down in that area.
Yeah, I forgot about Crotone. That was a really nice beach too. And yeah, the weather, it was so hot. But the beach really helped. So that was great.
And of course, we can't talk about summer without mentioning Sicily. There's several locations in Sicily. Everybody's familiar with Sicily because it's also both an Italian and tourist destination for visiting beaches there. One of the popular areas is the San Vito Lo Capo. It's very famous for sandy white beaches, and the waters are extremely crystal clear. So it's definitely a place that you want to go to if you're used to some of the Caribbean areas or islands that you may have visited. You'll see it's very similar to that. So I highly recommend San Vito Lo Capo. Next one is my favorite, actually, is Cefalù. It's very, I wouldn't say touristic, but there are a lot of local Italians that visit that beach, right? There's lots of, lots of historical buildings in that area and plenty of bars and such. So it's very picturesque, beautiful beaches. It can get a little crowded in the summer, of course, but I think it'll be an enjoyable destination. And I should mention, we actually came across a small issue when we visited. We did not pay attention to the ZTL zone signs, so we did get a ticket in the mail. Yeah, the ZTL zones, if you're not aware, it's essentially only local traffic. So if you're not registered with the town hall, or, if you are visiting a hotel and not registered or don't mention it to the hotel that you'll be driving in, then, your plates will get photographed. So once that happens, they'll send a ticket in the mail to you. So be aware, if you are renting a car, you might end up getting a ticket in the mail if you don't, let them know ahead of time.
Yeah, that was the only downer about Cefalù. Otherwise, it was a very lovely destination. But I also want to mention, if you are not familiar with San Vito Lo Capo, where it is, it's actually not too far from Palermo. So if you're looking for like a day trip, that could be a good destination.
Next location that you would want to visit in Sicily is Scala dei Turchi. So this area is very interesting because there are white limestone cliffs that overlook the water, which is really cool to see. You'll see a lot of people actually taking photos and walking around that area. The beach itself is very nice, also sandy, fine sand beach, and the waters are very nice and clear. It is a nice location to visit, and you'll definitely eat well in that area.
Yeah, and I think Skadar, Turkey, we stayed just near it because we were going to Agrigento, which is the archaeological park with the big temples there. So if you want to see both, I would say stay near Skadar, Turkey, like we did, and it's only about maybe 10-minute drive to the archaeological park. So that way you get to see a bit more of a destination while you're there. But we can't forget about Scoliti, which is another sort of maybe lesser known destination to people from outside of Italy. And Scoliti also has really sandy beaches. It's got a very chill vibe. It was very relaxing there. And the sunsets, then again, I think sunsets in all of Sicily were spectacular. But Scoliti was very nice. It wasn't overpopulated and the beaches were fantastic.
Yeah, that was a really nice destination. It's not a very busy area. It's a small town, very clean, and plenty of restaurants and bars to hang around.
Now, let's talk about Campania, which is the region we live in. So if you're coming to Italy, you are probably going to come to the Amalfi Coast. And, Amalfi Coast is beautiful. I think in the summertime, especially, is in its peak of beauty. It does get crowded. I don't think the beaches in Amalfi are the nicest. They are picturesque surroundings, but the beaches themselves are, I would say, okay. I think there you're just paying for the location and you're paying for the service, which is not always necessarily the same thing as going to the beach and just chilling. I mean, it's up to you what you choose. So in addition to the Amalfi Coast, there are a few islands that have decent beaches or places you can go and check out. The most popular, obviously, is Capri. And Capri has really nice rocky areas, too. There's some beaches to hang out. So if you want to stay in Capri, I would say you could do that. But there's also Ischia and Procida, which are other islands in that area, which you can also explore. But really, for me, the highlight of Campania is the Cilento coast. Now, we've spent some time in Palinuro, which is, I would say, very Italian tourist oriented. I don't think that they had too many not Italians when we were there. And if you're looking for like a quintessential, Italian destination, that was it. Because you have a lot of families who come and they stay in the area. They stay for like maybe a week and you see them everywhere. So, during the day, people go to the beach. Then you have everybody going to dinner. And it's a very family-friendly, sort of relaxing vibe. The beaches in Palinuro and the water were just incredible. And I think if I was going to Campania, I would definitely go there.
Yeah, Palinuro was really nice. The fact that it's fairly affordable, so you'll see a lot of Italian locals there and great restaurants in the area that don't charge a whole lot in comparison to places like Capri, which is very touristy. And you won't eat as well, especially if you're near the beachfront. There's a lot of, tourist traps, restaurants, and they don't really care a lot of the time. So it's very difficult to find a good place to eat. But Capri is probably, I would say, probably the nicest beaches I've ever encountered. The only, if you want to look in comparison to a similar beach in the Caribbean, the closest would be probably Barbados. And yeah. Very calm waters if you like probably snorkeling and stuff like that. It's definitely a gorgeous place, and but like I said, it's very touristy, so be aware of high season. You'll see a lot of non-locals, non-Italians in that area, so just to keep note of that. Going back to the Cilento coast, our experience with Palinuro was very good, but I should mention a little known gem is the Marina di Camerota, which is also very popular with the locals. You'll find a lot of Italians go to Marina di Camerota because they enjoy all the all-inclusive resorts or resort amenities. So you get 3 meals a day, and they're fairly affordable still. So it's not as expensive as some of the other areas that you would visit for beach destinations in Italy. So yeah, Marina di Camerota is probably one of the places you would want to put on your list because it does have beautiful clear waters, crystal clear waters, and nice sandy beaches. So, like I said, it can get pretty busy in the summer. A lot of locals would go there as their destination. And I would consider it to be very, I guess you'll see a lot of younger couples and such in that area that to visit. Obviously you'll still have the family-oriented hotels and all-inclusives, but there is a lively nightlife in that area.
I think another great place that probably flies under the radar is the area of Paestum. So Paestum, like I mentioned earlier, is known for Greek temples, and the archaeological site is quite nice to explore. But not too far from that is the coast, and those are some really nice beaches there too. So again, you have a lot of beaches along the coast. Some of them are part of, I guess you would call like a beach club where you can go and stay and have an umbrella. A lot of them are like free beaches, which you can go on your own with like your own chair and umbrella. But there is also a lot of little beach, not resorts, but more of like houses. So like summer residences you can rent out and stay there. There's lots of bars and restaurants. And I really enjoyed our time. I think the first time we came to Italy, we went to that area, and I remember it to be very nice and sandy.
Yeah, we found them in Paestum. It's a very busy area also. Got to keep that in mind. There is a lot of nightlife there, tons of hotels and locations where there's B&Bs and such. So be aware of that you'll find it very busy, especially in the high season. So I would actually put that account for that.
We've covered this side of the coast. Let's talk about some other places in Italy that someone might want to consider when you're coming in for the summer. One of our favorite destinations for the beach is in Abruzzo, and that is Alba Adriatica. I think we've mentioned this place before on the podcast, but Alba Adriatica is a beachside resort that we discovered quite by accident because we were actually going to Rimini, which is another famous beach, but we never made it to Rimini. So we ended up staying in Alba Adriatica, and I really enjoyed it because, again, you have sandy beaches, you have pretty shallow water, it's very clear water, and there's a lot of stuff to do around Alba Adriatica. So along the waterfront, there are bike lanes, there's walkways, there's bars and restaurants. So you have a lot of stuff to do, whether you're, with a family, whether you're there with your friends or your significant other. I found Alba Adriatica to be a very well-rounded destination because there's lots of things to do and see during the day and at night. And again, the beaches are fantastic.
Yeah, we visited Alba Adriatica on several occasions. I think it was because of the fact that it's a very polished area. The strip is very fairly long, and you've got varying bars and restaurants available. And there's also entertainment at night, especially on the weekends. And of course, we really enjoyed our all-inclusive type hotel stays because it was run by basically a mom and pop, hotel. So it was all farm to table food, essentially. It's all home cooked meals, basically. And it all came from the owner's farm, which was really cool.
Actually, that's a good point. I never really thought of it. Do they still do that at the hotel? I think they do because the hotel's still around, right?
Yeah, I think they ended up building another one or having another one in that area. So I think they've done well for themselves. It's been a while since we visited.
I guess if you're thinking of an all-inclusive, like what we think in North America, it's not quite like that, but you do get your meals included. So, for example, I can't remember if there was a breakfast or not, but then you'd have a lunch. So lunch will be like one or two dishes that are pre-made that they serve to you. So I think one was, let's say, risotto or pasta. So it's not like you go and it's not like a buffet. It's more of like a served type situation, which was, again, very good and convenient because if things close for, let's say, between 1 and 4 and you miss that lunch window, you're going to be starving till the afternoon. So that's also something to consider. Now, not all beach places do that. Some of them have restaurants on site that stay open, so you can also do that. But I would inquire if you're staying somewhere, especially in a beach type environment, if they do that because it's very convenient.
Yeah, some of the locations in the Abruzzo area is Pescara, which is a major city in Abruzzo. You'll see there's a very popular beachfront. So you have Pescara Beach, very long strip with sandy beaches and very lively on the weekends or even during high season. And then the upside is the fact that many of these smaller beach destinations aren't very busy off season, of course, because this is Pescara. You'll find if you end up staying even on off season, like in September, October, you'll see it's still very lively. So lots of things to do, lots of entertainment available. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind.
Yeah, Pescara is a great destination because it's a city, right? So you have the city vibe, and then you have the beach, which, if you're looking for something else to do after your beach time, that's a great choice. Now, Abruzzo also has several other, has a lot of beaches, but I think the couple that we should mention is definitely Francavilla di Mare, Vasto, and Ortona. Those are the three, I would say, probably major beaches in the area. And they're very beautiful. So again, if you're looking for sandy beaches, kind of wild nature, I think that's a great area of Italy to explore.
Yeah, the upside of being in that area is because if you're staying in Pescara, even you don't have to stay rooted in that specific area. You can move around, and because it's along the coast, you have tons of options, right? Francavilla is very close by, which is a 20-minute drive probably or less. You have Vasto. There's several locations there. There's Ortona, where you can visit Lido Riccio, which is a very popular sandy beach area, which is similar to the smaller version of Rimini, so with slightly cleaner water. If you're familiar with Rimini, it's a beautiful location and very, very lively during the summer. But you'll find the actual water is a little bit on the dirty side. So some of these other locations are much better.
There are so many beach destinations all over Italy. So I think if we were trying to cover them all, that would be a very long episode. But I would say a lot of big cities, even Rome, they're close to what they call city beaches. And they are great if you're staying in the big city, because usually there's transportation that will get you there. And you can go for like a day trip. So you don't have to spend time just going for beach vacations. We've done this when we were, like I said, Rome. The closest beach area is Ostia. Ostia is a very lovely summer town as well, with lots of beaches, lots of stuff to do. And I think if you're driving, it's about 10-15 minutes from Rome. And there's a bus or train, I can't remember which one, that goes directly to Ostia. You can do that as a day trip. Then there's Poeto Beach, which is in Cagliari in Sardinia. That was a great, I think, outing, because I think the bus took us 15 minutes to get there?
Yeah, it was a bit of a kind of odd to get to, because that beach is kind of off the beaten path, right? It's a little bit further from the center, obviously. But it's a beautiful beach. Clean. It can get fairly busy during the summer. I noticed that we did find it a bit busy, but that's normal during the high season. And it was a super, super clean beach, very, very clear waters and fine sand.
Yeah, so if you're considering staying in a bigger city, again, if the city's closer to the coast and you want to have that beach experience, look into what the nearest beaches are near you. Because like I said, there are so many beaches that are very small or lesser known that you might not necessarily know about them, but the locals in the area will. So if you are looking for the beach experience, definitely look at the ones that are closer to the big city you're staying in.
Let's talk about some of the non-beach destinations. I think that we've been concentrating quite a bit on beaches only. Now, I'm sure listeners are probably interested in visiting other non-beach areas, maybe parks and historical locations.
Yeah, Italy is a great place for outdoor activities. So summer, I would say, is particularly nice if you're into hiking, biking. There's lots of trails, lots of mountains. Again, those are for winter and summer. But again, if you're coming to Italy in the summertime and you don't necessarily want to do a beach or you want to do something else, I think the Dolomites up in the north are a great place, because Dolomites are well known as a winter destination. There are a lot of hiking trails, great views. There's lots of lakes, rock climbing, mountain biking. You can do a lot of that up there as well, which I don't necessarily think people think of when they go to Italy, or they don't think necessarily of Dolomites as a summer destination.
Speaking of great locations, Lake Garda is actually one of the places that we really enjoyed. Lots to do in that area, especially, Obviously the lake itself is gorgeous. There's a beautiful boardwalk that you can walk along and just enjoy the sights. There's also great restaurants and bars in that area. It's also a really good spot for as your base, right? So if you want to visit other areas within that zone, I think it's a highly recommended spot.
Yeah, Lake Garda was quite beautiful. You have lots of these little historical villages all the way around the lake, and you can do a lot of water activities that are not an ocean or a sea. They're just lake. I think we even saw people doing paragliding, obviously mountain biking. There's lots of like sailing, stand-up paddle boarding. There's a lot of activities that you might not think of when you think of the lakes, because I think most people will be going to Como, which is beautiful. But I think Lake Garda offers a lot more for outdoorsy activities. There's lots of charming towns with restaurants and bars, and you can take a boat across the lake and visit other towns. And it's a really good summer destination.
There are some great spots to go and do some trekking or even some hiking throughout Italy. So I agree 100%.
Okay, so in addition to activities, let's talk about the summer festivals, because it seems like Italians love summer festivals. Different towns have different saints, so it almost seems like there's a different festival in different town on different day, depending on what saint they celebrate. In our town, end of July, we have a big party. We compared it to Coachella before because it's almost like same concept for like 3 days. There's all these people that come out of everywhere and the town comes alive. They have a DJ, they have fireworks. It's great. And you'll find that in many different places, especially if you go to beach resorts, a lot of time they have nighttime activities. So there is always some sort of dancing. There'll be fireworks for no reason everywhere. And it's a great time to celebrate and be in Italy.
Yeah, Italians definitely love their festivals. I found that the last little while, or recently, I found that many of the festivals get really busy. I know when I was younger, we would have more live bands or even some popular Italian singers show up, and they would even go to many of the smaller towns. Like I remember seeing some popular singers back in the day, even in this town that we're at. But now it's more, I think, smaller bands, local bands, and even DJs that show up. I guess to target the younger generation.
They haven't had one in a while. Remember, there was one a few years ago when we went to see him, and they haven't had anyone else come in that town. But I think, in addition to these all small festivals that happen all over Italy, there are several key ones that I think you might want to look at. So again, there's the famous horse race in Siena, the Palio di Siena. There's the next one happening in August 16th. So that might be something you might want to check out. There's the Verona Opera Festival, which I would love to do one day because Verona, if you're not aware, has amazing Roman amphitheater and they do plays and different things there. So this is happening June 7 to September 7. If you are in the area, it's really worth checking out.
There's also the Umbria Jazz Festival. So if you're into jazz, some notable performers do attend that. That's from July 12th to the 21st. So if you're planning to attend, I would book ahead of time.
I think we should check this out one of these days too, as I would love to see some jazz festivals.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's now talk about some of the essentials that you need for your summer in Italy. Because again, it's hot. So you definitely need sunscreen. You definitely need some kind of head protection, like a hat, a scarf, something. And of course, sunglasses. I can't emphasize water enough because you have to stay hydrated. I think those would be my key points and tips for coming to Italy in the summer.
A few things to keep in mind if you're planning on visiting any of the beaches in Italy. There are a few options available to you. If you're on a budget, look for the free beaches. Obviously, you're not going to get any of the amenities you would get at the paid beaches, but you'll find that there's quite a bit of savings going that route because they have increased a lot of the prices if you plan on renting a bed and an umbrella, because nowadays I think we've seen even 40 euros, it would cost us around 40 euros to rent one of those. So You can actually purchase your own umbrella, or even if you want a chair to sit in, you can bring those. And they're fairly compact nowadays. So you can, again, a folding chair, a couple umbrellas, and just visit the free beaches. They're well maintained. Obviously, you won't have all the options available to you that you would have at a paid one where they have restaurants and such. But there's many that will have a bar nearby, so you can purchase a drink or a snack. But many Italians actually do utilize the free beaches. They also pack their own lunch, bring a cooler with some drinks, and you're allowed to even drink alcohol on the beach as long as you don't cause any issues. Plenty of Italians bring some beer or even wine to have with their lunches. So that is one option, because it can get very expensive if you plan on staying at one of the paid locations or paid beach front areas.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. If you're looking at a place to stay near the beach, so again, some hotels might have a beach included, right? So you don't have to pay extra for the beach. It's already part of your hotel stay. The place we stayed in Alba Adriatica that we mentioned earlier had food included. So we were able to access the beach. We were able to eat at the hotel without additional charge, which again was a bit of a cost saver. Not every place does that. Now, if you're staying in like an Airbnb type situation, or you have a place with like kitchen, you can always get your own groceries and make your own food, which is another way to save some money. And if you are visiting the beach, and they do have a lot more like restaurants and bars along the beach, so you can always just stay at one of those and go and have something to eat. Now, something to keep in mind is that if you are staying in this kind of situation and you just want to go and get something to eat, Italians tend to cover up a bit more. So it's not like you have to get fully dressed, but you wouldn't really see them going in their bikini or just their shorts. They'll probably put a shirt on or some kind of cover up for your bikini. So you wouldn't just go to a restaurant in your swimwear and just eat. That's just something to keep in mind. Just see what everybody else is doing, because you don't want to be the old one. People are staring at you and you don't know why. As long as you follow what everybody else is doing, you'll be okay. Don't litter, don't leave your garbage behind, and you will have a very enjoyable summer if you come and you stay on the beach for at least a few days when you're in Italy.
Now, if you're not that budget conscious, but don't want to spend too much money, like Kasia said, there are options with hotels and some bed and breakfast places. So usually they offer food options where it's called a, piena pensione, which includes pretty much everything: your stay, the hotel, your umbrella on the beach, and then you have the 3 meals, right? Then there is the other option if you don't want to restrict yourself to that one location and you're not sure about the food. Mezza pensione is usually the other option. Usually might include just breakfast, for example, with your stay, your umbrella, but you could find your own place to eat. So there is that option. But if you really don't want to spend too much money, but still stay at a decent spot near the beach, you can rent an Airbnb, or there's a lot of places that rent rooms or even apartments, right? So they include kitchens, so you can probably cook for yourself. There is that option if you want to make your own food. A lot of the supermarkets in the area also provide the option of just buying, cooked meals. So you can actually have fresh cooked meals, and they're actually really good. So there is that option also.
To us, the quintessential summer in Italy involves a beach, at least in some way. So if you're coming to Italy and you want to do like a week on the beach, I think that's a great idea. Now, if you don't want to do a whole week on the beach, or you just want to do a few days, Italy is also great for exploring big towns, little towns. Just keep in mind that it's going to be a lot hotter, a lot more busy in the summertime. That's why a lot of people go to the beach. So Italians actually, most of them take August off. So you'll have a lot of locals, especially places like Rome. A lot of the locals leave and they go to the beach. So you're going to have a lot of tourists and not that many locals. And I think that's kind of common across Italy, where people just go to the beach. So if you are planning on spending some time on the beach, especially in August, I would say book ahead of time, because it's going to get very busy very quickly and things will sell out. So whatever's going to be left, it's either going to be not that great or it's going to be very expensive. So just keep that in mind if you're planning on coming in August, let's say, and going to the beach. I would say start planning now and book it ahead of time. Again, you don't have to go to the beach. You can always explore towns and cities and go for road trips. I think there's so much to do outdoors in Italy that you're not going to be bored. There's lots of places to go. Wine tours are great. You can go hiking, you can go biking, you can go, trekking, or you can just go hit a patio here and there. And I think you'll have a great time.
Yeah, there's definitely tons of options available. So, we spoke about some of our own experiences. So hopefully that helped, plan yours.
So we hope you have a great summer in Italy if you're coming here, and happy planning. Enjoy La Dolce Vita in Italy. And we are going to plan our own summer vacation. And this brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and review on whatever you're listening right now. We'll be back next week, so stay tuned.